The Biden agenda is, as we know, failing on every front, obviously. And rather than admit their shortcomings, their response is always the same. Double and triple down on more destructive, delusional, and dangerous far-left lunacy. For example, we are now learning more about a new $1.5 billion, that's with a B, dollar grant from the Transportation Department to fund woke pet projects surrounding so-called racial equity and economy-killing climate change initiatives. And the best part? All of the funds are coming from the infrastructure bill that Biden signed last year. But just like their COVID relief bill wasn't actually about COVID, the infrastructure bill covers way more than traditional infrastructure. Here with more, giving us a bit more background and analysis, former HUD secretary is one of our favorites, of course, Dr. Ben Carson. Dr. Carson, thank you for joining me tonight. We know that the nation's in some degree of trouble. You are an example of the kind of man that this nation produces and delivers to help the American people. You serve this country. You serve her now with the work that you do. What $1.5 billion, the difference that kind of money could make in the quality of people's lives as the economy continues to crumble would be astounding. What do you say when it comes to this kind of spending of money on absurd projects?
Well, it's rather quite sad that we would use this excuse to funnel money in for the pet projects, the Christmas wish list of the woke left, and singling out, racial favorites. That doesn't really do anything. If you think back to the last administration, it was a philosophy that a rising tide floats all boats. And we had the lowest unemployment for minorities, particularly blacks and Hispanics. We had the highest wages. We had prison reform. We created a situation where the HBCUs didn't have to come with cup in hand every year. I mean, there were a whole plethora of things that really worked much better than this equity stuff. And if people would just stop and evaluate things on their face, as opposed to listening to the propaganda, I think we'd be much better off. But these gifts are used to further divide the American population. If you favor one group or another, all you're going to do is create tension. And we've gotten to the point where we think that we're enemies. We, the American people, we're not each other's enemies. The enemies are those purveyors of hatred and division who seem to have a tremendous mouthpiece and facilitated by the media.
I think you're absolutely right. It's very wise assessment there, because when we're looking at the nature of what they would propose, things like from the Department of Transportation, we've heard them talk about the racism of highways and how every decision effectively that's made is this structural racism, and that money somehow is going to cure that. And what it makes everybody think is that the system, you can't win at all, you're lost, that even the roads are against you. Doesn't that go too far, or do you think the Democrats actually believe that?
I don't think they believe it, but they have discovered ways to manipulate people, and that's really the key. If they were really interested, they'd be dealing with what you were just talking about, the border. We've got all kinds of people coming into this country, including people who want to destroy this country. And it's only the grace of God that's saving us. We certainly don't have a government that seems to understand the dangers that are presented by doing things like they're doing. And, that's really the reason that American Cornerstone was created, to help focus people on the things that made this into a great nation, things that are being attacked on a daily basis, our faith and our families. And we're going to have to be smart enough to recognize what's going on and not allow ourselves to be manipulated.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.